Hi everyone. I thought I would go over just a couple of tips and tricks on how to do homework for Lesson 10 in Maple TA. The first thing is that to create a graph with these tables of information, I'm going to highlight this, and some of you have noticed that if you right click that sometimes copy doesn't always occur. If that's the case, then go ahead and do Control C or Command C depending on your computer, and it will copy it for you to make it easily accessible to paste into an Excel spreadsheet. The next thing is to insert your scatter plot and your trend line. I'm going to bring this over just a little bit. So the first thing, you highlight both sets of information, just like a scatter chart needs two sets of information. Go to Insert and select your first scatter. Now, you can go ahead and sign some different things up here, but what I'm going to do is really focus on adding the trend line. So I'm going to highlight the data points inside the chart and then go to the Select Add Trend Line. And there we go. Now I have a bunch of options over here to pick from. You will be asked several times if I want linear, quadratic, or exponential and which best fits. And the automatic or the default is to go ahead and do a linear, and you'll see sometimes it doesn't follow a really nice pattern like in the examples in the textbook. And so we aren't exactly sure if we should pick exponential, linear, quadratic, in my opinion. Some of you may find this rather intuitive, but what I am going to teach is something called the R-squared value. So the first thing, we also want to display the equation, and I'm going to select display R-squared. This tells me how close I am to the data. So the closer this is to 1, if I were to have a linear line, all the plots on some line, and then ask for a trend line and the linear trend line, it will give me the exact line of the equation, and this R would be R equals 1, or maybe 0.99. It's kind of like a percent. So in this one, I'm about 14, not really close. So linear is probably not the best option. Let's try exponential. 0.16, so it's a little closer. And then the last option would be quadratic. So we have linear, exponential, quadratic is the polynomial 2 in order 2. That means that the x is being squared. And this one is better, 0.2338. So that's better than the 0.13 or the 0.1 or the 0.14 or the 0.16. It's still not fantastic because the closer to 1, the better it is. But in our options here, linear, quadratic, and exponential, that is definitely the best of the three. And then because I found the best one, this tells me that this equation right here is the best equation for my trend line. So I'm going to highlight this, and I'm going to copy it as well and paste it down here. Oops. I just want that in here, and this is, there we go. Right click, and I want to copy this. There we go. Okay, and then now that we have that copied, so I just did Control C and Control V to copy and paste. You'll see that here's my little trend line here, and I want to find some information for my data. So the first one is type in the trend line. And make sure that when you have this exponent here, you do Shift 6 or caret 6 right there so that that shows that that's in the exponent. And then we can use this equation to find the output for several of these inputs. So I have 51, so I'll put 51 in for X, and then 10 years older is 61, I can put in for X, and then taking the answers from both of those, I would subtract and show the difference between those. So here I'm going to put 51, and then I want to find 61. And because I'm going to be finding more than one, I'm going to go ahead and do a cell reference, because that way it will, I can just click and drag and not have to type the whole thing over again. So I'm going to paste this in again and take care of that y equals, because I want this to calculate. And then I'm going to do times. Don't forget that times sign. And then I want to multiply it by x, and when I'm substituting, I make sure I put parentheses around everything. And you'll see when I pasted that in, it put the 2 down on the normal line, so I need to make sure that it's squared by putting in a caret. So a couple of things just to reiterate, that I need to put the multiplication sign here, and I do parentheses every time I see an x when I substitute, and then the shift 6 for the caret to show that this is being raised to the second power. And then one more over here. Again, I need to remind Excel or tell Excel that it needs to multiply. And I'm going to highlight this to cell reference 51 so that I can click and drag and not have to calculate the same thing with 61. It just speeds me up. Okay, pressing enter tells me the grip strength for a 51-year-old. Then clicking down here to click and drag, since I cell referenced, you'll see that it cell referenced the 61, so it calculated it for me, and that was really nice. Okay, and then the last one was, how much do we expect a woman's grip strength to increase or decrease? And so I'm going to subtract these. So I have 51 subtract, oh no, I should do 61, apologize, 61 subtract 51, and that would give me the grip strength, and it has decreased, so we'll use the negative number to show that it's decreasing from 51 to 61. All right, I think that was everything that will help you with your homework on Maple TA lesson number 10.